So, very good evening to everybody who joined us today. And the topic that we have taken for today's webinar is GST cancellation, something that has been a discussed topic and has been something that is also concerning and worrying a lot of taxpayers as well. The concept of cancellation of registration is quite new. So what we have basically planned to focus on today's session is four very simple questions. We are trying to understand what is cancellation, what does it mean. Second thing is under which circumstance will the GST get cancelled? What are the possible scenarios where GST can get cancelled? The third question is, if your GST gets cancelled as a taxpayer, what is it that you can do? So the last part of it, which is what do you ensure to prevent this kind of a cancellation of GST? So the first thing is, what is this cancellation? So kya matlab hai? What does cancellation itself mean? So when you see a status of a taxpayer that says GST is cancelled, that basically means that this particular taxpayer cannot basically collect GST. That is, you cannot raise a sale invoice and collect GST. You cannot receive an invoice from your vendor. You can basically not purchase something with GST. And you cannot also go ahead and submit your GST returns. So technically, this means you may not be able to do any sort of business with somebody else. Your vendors also will not be able to supply anything to you because they cannot charge GST on this to you. And you cannot basically file returns. If you have excess input credit, you cannot claim it. If you have something that you have to pay to the government, you will not be able to pay it. And it is as good as not having a GST, and you will not be able to further your business. You will not be able to do business if GST registration has been cancelled. So this is what cancellation basically means. And that is why it is important to understand what we need to do to avoid this and what we have to do when the GST also gets cancelled. Next question is what we have tried to answer and what we want to discuss today is, under which circumstance will your GST get cancelled? Now, there are two ways your GST can get cancelled. One is by voluntary, that's a taxpayer as a business goes and tells the department that I don't want my GST number or I want to cancel my GST number because of certain activities. And the second thing is if the department themselves cancel it. So when the user themselves cancel it, that is a voluntary process. Otherwise, the department also themselves in certain circumstances can directly cancel your GST. So the first circumstances, in case of a business merger, two businesses come together and have merged. So that is the case where one business, so business A was operating its own business with a GST number. Business B wanted to join with it. And so business A and business B merged to become a new business. In that case, the GST registrations of these individual businesses of A and B will get cancelled. Second reason is if there is either a transfer of business, so you sold your business to somebody, or there is a unnatural instance is the death of the owners of the business. In that case also the GST will get cancelled. Third scenario can be, let us say you are running a proprietorship, you are the only person running the business today, but you want to convert to a partnership. When you convert from individual to partnership, there will be a new PAN that is going to be allotted, so the GST registration also will have to change. So if there is a change in constitution, now individual became a partnership firm, a partnership firm became an LLP, or an LLP became a company. In these kind of cases also, the original GST will get cancelled and a new GST will be given. Fourth situation is, a lot of people might have registered under GST because the turnover has become more than 20 lakh. And at some point, either the turnover becomes less than 20 lakhs, or there is a possibility that you have stopped the business, that you no longer want to continue this business. And if that is the case also, you can get your GST cancelled. However, if you have registered when your business was, let's say, having a turnover of just 5 lakh under the voluntary scheme, in that case, you will not be able to cancel your registration unless you shut down your business. Only if you close business, in that case, you can go ahead and get your GST cancelled. Now, the next set of situations are where the department can cancel our registration. Now, what is the first case? If there is somebody who is registered under GST composition scheme and they have to file an annual return, GST Form 4 needs to be filed once a year. Now, for 3 years, if that person registered under composition does not file his returns, so the law says 3 tax periods, which basically is 3 years because return has to be filed only once a year. So when returns are not filed for 3 years, then the registration gets cancelled. The next scenario is where there is non-compliance with GST. You're supposed to do, once you've taken a GST registration, you're supposed to do certain activities, like you're supposed to collect taxes, you're supposed to raise invoices, you're supposed to be paying taxes on a month-on-month basis. If these activities are not done, then also the department can cancel the registration. The next circumstances, we spoke about 3 years for composition. If somebody is registered in other than composition, or the regular scheme, if registered in regular scheme, and returns are not filed for 6 months, continuously if the returns are not filed for 6 months, which is GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, in that case also the department can cancel the registration. The next scenario is, let's say you have started a business today and you voluntarily registered under GST. But for a period of 6 months from the date of registration, no business was commenced. You decided that you want, then for some circumstance, business could not be started. In that case also, the department will go ahead and basically cancel the registration that you had taken a voluntary registration but did not start business for 6 months. So in that case, the department can cancel. And the last scenario is a serious situation, is if at the time of registration, some documents which were given, which were incorrect, fraudulently given documents, let's say some document was forged while giving it to the department, or some fact that was misrepresented. So let's say that a certain person who was supposed to be a partner was not mentioned in the registration, or a person who was not a partner was mentioned as a partner in the registration. This is called suppression or misstatement of fact. So if something of that has been done at the time of registration, that also is a circumstance where the GST can get cancelled. Now, basically, the next big question is what to do when your GST is cancelled. The first thing is not to panic. It can be revoked. There is a possibility. As of now, the law says that if you get a cancellation notice, within 30 days of receiving that notice, you can apply for a revocation. Revocation means basically you're going to tell the department that you have cancelled my registration, please reverse it. So that is what we mean by revocation of cancellation. Within 30 days of receiving the notice, you can go online in the portal, file something called the form GST REG 21. We will also explain on the portal how this can be done in the next slide. So that needs to be filed within 30 days. Now, in the latest council meeting that was done, 49th council meeting happened in February 2023. In that meeting, the council has decided that this 30-day time limit for filing for this reversal will be extended to 90 days. And even within 90 days, if you are unable to do it, then the commissioner of GST has the power to extend it for another 90 days. So totally up to 6 months. But for that 90 to 180 day extension, you need to have very valid reasons. Possibility, let's say health, family issues, or some dispute in business which requires some legal settlement, things like this. There is no list specified by the law, but as long as you have a valid reason, you can go ahead and basically ask for extension of the 30-day time limit. But what is very important in all this is that if your registration has been cancelled before 31st December 2022, because any of the taxpayers have not filed the returns. So we discussed in the previous point, if you have not filed returns for 6 months, if you're a regular taxpayer, or if you're composition and you have not filed returns for 3 years, your registration can be cancelled. In such a case, if your registration has been cancelled before 31st December 2022, there is an option before 30th June to go and get this reversed. This is only a one-time scheme that is provided by the department. So any taxpayer who's got your registration cancelled before 31st December and have missed this 30-day time limit, you can still go ahead and get this cancellation reversed before 30th June 2023. Please note, this is only a one-time amnesty that the department has given, and this has to be done before 30th June itself. So please make use of this opportunity and try and get your GST cancellation reversed. So the next, so these are the steps to file. It's a very simple process to file it. You just have to log in using your user ID password. And then under services, there is something called an application for revocation. That is called the REG 21. You have to fill all the required information. In case the cancellation was because returns were not filed, in that case, you have to first file all the returns, pay all the tax, pay the late fee, and after that apply for this reversal of cancellation. And once that has been applied for, the department will go through that application and then go ahead and approve the application, after which the status will change from cancelled to GST active. So this is why it's called a reversal of cancellation. So this is a simple online process that can be followed. But again, please note, if returns were not filed and GST was cancelled because of that, this application can only be filed once all the returns have been filed and all taxes have been paid. So that is a mandatory step. Now coming to the last point of our discussion today is, what do you need to do to basically avoid? Cancellation is a very difficult process to, so even from a process of just going through the cancellation, it can be a bit difficult. So instead of going through that process, that long process, it is better to ensure that a few things are followed on a month-on-month basis. So first thing is, whenever you're opting for a registration, please ensure that only valid documents are furnished. No forging of documents of any sort, only valid documents are furnished, and all the facts are clearly stated, and whatever is required to be filled in the GST registration application, that is correctly filled in without changing any fact. Once the registration is done, it is very important that month on month all the books of account are maintained properly, which records the sales, which records the purchases, which records all expenses which are liable to GST. And by maintaining this record on a month-on-month basis, you can basically go ahead and ensure that returns can be filed within the due date without any payment of late fee. Within the 20th of every month, the GST return, the GSTR 3B can be filed, and within 11th, the GSTR 1 can be filed. And all the dues, whatever is the due that is payable on GST, is calculated properly and paid. This needs to be ensured on a month-on-month basis. And also importantly, in case of input tax credit, that the proper reconciliation is done, and on regular basis, on a month-on-month basis, the books of account and the GST returns are reconciled so that there are no differences. This will ensure that there are no mismatches, and there is no reason for the department to come behind, send notices, and basically go ahead and cancel your registration. So these are very simple steps that need to be followed to ensure that the GST registration is not cancelled. And by chance that the GST registration has been cancelled for whatever reason, there is no reason to panic. All the pending liabilities needs to be paid, and an application is to be filed with the department by giving the proper reasons for why the filing was missed, or for whatever reason that the registration has been cancelled, to explain why the taxpayer was not able to respond. By making this simple application, you can get your cancelled GST back also. So this is what we have for today. We can now open it up for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Arvind. Does anybody have any questions regarding GST cancellation? Does anybody require any help or any assistance? We are open to answer any questions right now, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I am Parvesh, sir. Our GST name says Nawaz Tent House, but I want to cancellation our GST number because, sir, our business is not running, and my planning is, sir, other business. Just like I involved, sir, government teacher involved, so I want to cancellation our GST number. So please help for this matter, sir.
So this is one of the valid reasons for cancellation. That is, stopping business is a valid reason. So what you have to ensure is that, sir, you can get in touch with our team. आप हमारे WhatsApp नंबर पे जो आपकी स्क्रीन पे है, वहाँ पे आप कॉल कर सकते हैं, और हमारे टीम जो है आपको बताएंगे. फर्स्ट चेक करेंगे पहले कि आपका पूरा लायबिलिटी जो है GST में वो भर गया है, नहीं भरा है, वो चेक करके बताएंगे आपको. और अगर आपका पूरा लायबिलिटी जो है वो पूरा भर गया है, तो आप जाके आपका GST रजिस्ट्रेशन को कैंसिल करवा सकते हैं. जो नंबर आपकी स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा है व्हाट्सएप नंबर भी है, और अपना जो कॉलिंग नंबर भी है, वहाँ पे आप कॉल करके हमारे टीम के साथ बात कर सकते हैं, और अपना क्रेडेंशियल शेयर करेंगे तो आपको हेल्प करेंगे.
वन सर कि हम इस एक महीने से, सर, वो व्हाट्सएप पे जो है तो उस पे एक महीने से अपना हम रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, और वहाँ से जो भी नॉन्स हो रहा है वो हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं. तो उसमें कैंसिलेशन बता रहा है, तो बता रहा है कि पेंडिंग है. जो नियर मेरा ऑफिस में फॉरेस्ट गंज बता रहा है, बिहार का अररिया जिला. तो अब वहाँ से जो है वो उसको मतलब ऑफिस जो है उसको रिप्लाई नहीं दे रहा है. तो ऐसा है कि मेरा जो है कहीं डॉक्यूमेंट में कोई फॉल्ट नहीं है, सारा हम अपडेट है, जो फिलअप होता है उसमें हम करते आ रहे हैं फाइल.
ठीक है सर, आप हमारी टीम को अपना डिटेल्स दे दीजिए जीएसटी का, तो हम भी चेक करेंगे कि एप्लीकेशन ठीक से फाइल हुआ है नहीं हुआ है, तो उसके
जी।
बाद हम बता सकते हैं।
जी। हेलो।
हाँ सर।
जी लिखिए सर।
नहीं सर, आप वो नंबर जो है आपकी स्क्रीन पे, वहाँ पे कॉल करके आप दे सकते हैं डिटेल्स, तो हमारी टीम आपको हेल्प करेगी।
अच्छा अच्छा, ओके सर, ओके, ठीक है सर। जो उसमें हम मेरी बात हो रही है सर, कई बार बात हुई है व्हाट्सएप पे।
अच्छा, ओके।
तो उस पे हम बताया कि वो कैंसिलेशन वहां से जो ऑफिस है आप लोगों का मेन ब्रांच में भी बेंगलोर या बम्बई है, कहाँ है सर ये?
हमारा ऑफिस है बैंगलोर में है।
अच्छा
तो
अच्छा।
हम जो सर्विस देते हैं तो बैंगलोर से ही देते हैं, तो हेल्प करेंगे सर, नो प्रॉब्लम। बट हम इटली डिपार्टमेंट में जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है वो नहीं कर पाएंगे, बट
वो तो
ये जरूर चेक कर पाएंगे कि ठीक है कि नहीं सर, डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिशन सब ठीक है, वो चेक कर पाएंगे।
ठीक है सर, ठीक, ठीक है, थैंक यू सर
Thank
फॉर
you.
योर हेल्प सर।
Arvind, we also have another question.
Yeah, on the chat, I see that.
Yes.
Yeah, so Srijana. So, in case of credentials that is forgotten, what you will have to do is submit a letter to the department to get the login credentials. That again, this is something that our team will be able to help in case you have not got your credentials. One letter has to be submitted to the department, to the relevant jurisdiction office that where your GST is registered, and they will be able to give the login credentials. And after that, you can go ahead and complete the formalities online for the revocation of cancellation. And again, like I mentioned, if the cancellation happened before 31st December and the 30-day period has lapsed, and this is because of non-filing of return, you will still be able to go ahead and get back your GST if the application is filed before 30th June 2023. So this is a good window to solve that problem. But to get the credentials, you have to submit the letter to the department. Again, something that our team will be able to help you. You can please reach out to them with your GST number and your details. We will then help you out from there.
I have a small doubt, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Only GST number I have only. Username and password I forgot. How to recover?
So that's what. So you can write that's what I was answering the previous question as well. You have to write a letter to the department where your GST number is registered. So if you can give our team your GST number and your contact details, they will be able to help you with this process. A letter needs to be submitted to the department, and they will be able to give you your user ID and password.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So do we have any other questions?
No, Arvind, there are no questions on the chat. Does anybody
Okay.
else have any questions? Yes, sir. Please, sir.
यस सर। हेलो।
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.